Oh, hello. I was dancing. Obviously, I like the I like I like the choice of music that I pick because, of course. Hey everybody, happy Friday! What a week, huh? What a week! It has been a doozy. Um, manhunts, people scaling walls. That's the same person. Um, wow, just wow. I hope you all are doing really well. Night court's in session. I, I'm on the ball tonight. Apparently, I remember. Um, so much, y'all, so much. Yeah, last. Well, first of all, before I get talking, before I talk about myself, how are you all doing? How are you all doing? That's what I want to know. How was your week? How was crazy week? It was a crazy week. Tonight's not going to be any different, but it'll be crazy that we appreciate. Yes, dance it up. Yeah, when she said she was doing it, I was so excited. Um, I'm so excited. Thank you. I like it too. Um, Holly, you go to our link tree, and there's a button there that you click for the form. So I don't think it's on our actual website, but it is on the link tree. Unless you meant that being the website, it should be right under the night court button to get you here. So lots of manhunt hours. I don't know how y'all do that. I can hardly keep up with my own 3 days a week, and I mean, obviously, I have other stuff, but whoa. Did anybody have anything of note happen? Oh gosh, yes. Good God. Absolutely. Well, trivia is not limited to just members. Mm-mm. Daddy don't play that game. That's the most awkward thing I've said all week, and I've said a lot of stuff. Said a lot of stuff. Um, no. No. I don't as you can tell, Brandon and I don't really lock our stuff behind a paywall. Um, we might do one or two things for members, but eventually they become available for everybody. So ta-da! No, not at all. Keep being you, whether it's green or not. We're just happy that you're here. You're going to Minnesota tomorrow for your uncle's 80th. Well, happy birthday to your uncle. You tell him I said hello. That's really funny. Jen, thank you. Jen gifted a membership and it went straight to Jodi. She is back in green. That's amazing. And she said, "Say no." She's ahead. You're not failing at all. You're not failing at all. Let's see. Right here. Right here. It's just above your message about what's the link tree. That is the website there with koji.com/@13th juror live. It's so good that you to see you all. It really is. Oh, I'm so sorry. But you know what? Treading is exhausting, but you're doing it. You're doing it. And we're here. I'll dive underwater and kind of hold you up for a while so you can relax. At least for like 45 seconds at a time. Hopefully that'll help. But whatever you need, we're here for you. Um, yeah, yeah. Um, I was hearing stuff. I know nothing about astronomy, astrology, astronomy. That too, all of it, all of the above. Answer C, A, and B. Um, so I have no idea. But it's been wild. I'm glad we're here. Bullseye. You're my favorite deputy. Thank you, Jen, for gifting. Welcome back. Jodi, welcome back. I would do my sounds, but I just don't have the screen shared yet. You don't need that yet, but we do need. Oh yeah! Oh yeah! I'm so, I'm so done with the planets. It's not even funny. Oh, that's awesome. I heard briefly about it. I didn't know the tears were happening. But I love this community. Best community online. I don't kid around when I say that. Um, how? Mostly because it bothers you. You know, it's amazing. We can't keep plants alive, but a mosquito can chill out for a long time. What feels like a long time. Goodness. So night, last night, little Bruise Crime, little older Bruise Crime, and I went to his first concert, and we saw Mest and Authority Zero and Bowling for Soup. Hey, he really likes Bowling for Soup. And you know what? A lot of people are like, Was that an okay concert to take him to?" And I was like, "Yeah, there's language. They talk about crazy stuff on stage, but to me, I can have a conversation with him about that." Um, "Hey, miss, thank you. I appreciate that, and the just because. Thank you for all you do." Um, so we went, and a lot of people were like, "Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you talk about on stage and all that kind of stuff," and I'm just like, "Yes, but I can have a conversation with him about that. I can talk to him about anything he has questions about, and I can tell him that if he hears stuff on stage, that it doesn't leave the building." And he loves Bowling for Soup. For more than just Phineas and Ferb, the boy has memorized a good chunk of of words. Um, and it was amazing. It was a great concert. There, I'll need to email this to myself so I can show you. So while I'm doing that, I'll talk to you. So Mess is amazing. I didn't know what to expect because I didn't know much about them, but it was really cool. They were really great. And here's the thing. I love concerts that are in small spaces. Um, I like intimate spaces, and just really cool. And so the fact that Bowling for Soup was playing there with Mest and all of them, it was just awesome. So Jamie was at the front for Mest, and he was at the front for Bowling, and we left a little early. He was tired, but this was for his experience. I didn't want him to get too tired. So um, really, you're not going to do it, huh? Okay, well, let's do it this way then. Um, okay. So it was very good, and it's funny because yeah, I didn't even finish my sentence or my statement, my thought. So concert content can talk to him about it. Really, what it is the people, and some of the most fantastic and supportive people in this world are punk rock fans. And I've always got that feeling with Bowling for Soup and the people that follow them around and watch them. And so this was the case. It was no different last night. No different. I mentioned to the merch table that it was his first time, and I got him a shirt. But then he was just like giving him a slap bracelet, and the lead singer of Mest handed him a bag that had a bunch of merch in it, in terms of like stickers and patches and stuff like that. And Jamie collected more picks than I've gotten in about 10 years. I think he ended up with like 6 or 7. And then before Bowling for Soup came on, I'm saving the best for last, but before Bowling for Soup came on, Jarrett came over like 2 minutes before he stood on stage and came to talk to Jamie and me. We didn't have VIP tickets, but he came over and said hi, and talked to Jamie, and Jamie was in awe, and went back and brought Jamie a pick, and just it was great. It was a perfect first experience, and I'm gonna have a really hard time letting him know that that's not how it goes all the time. That's not how it goes all the time. They are the best. They are good to kids. And hey, it's Billy. Everybody say hi, Billy. Um, so super, super good. It's uploading. I have a video. Something crazy happened for Jamie that he would never do in real life. I don't think we were in real life in that concert venue. Um, but he did the logical one. Decided to kind of abandon all logic, and did something that I haven't even done at all. And so yes. Wait. I see you need to see my thing above. The first concert I took Sydney off to when she was 11, it was Megadeth. She You're right. I did need to see that comment. Nicely done. Nicely done. But seriously, metal and pop punk fans are just awesome. Just awesome. I absolutely love it. Um, I am still waiting for this upload failed because of course it did. Why wouldn't it? All right. All right, phone. Stop messing up. Um, actually, no, forget it. I have a short one. You don't need to see the long one. Um, so the lead singer of Mess called Jamie up on stage because he happened to be the youngest one there at the time, and he was in the front, which was cool for him. And said, "Hey, do you know how to crowd surf?" I had talked to him about it beforehand, just in case he saw it. Hello, and and he was like, "Do you want to?" And Jamie was like, "Okay," and I'm sitting there with just like my mouth agape, like, "Is he really gonna do it? Is he really gonna please?" And then also in the back of my head, I was like, "Mrs. Bruce Crime's never gonna allow me to be alone with him ever again," uh, which wasn't the case, but yes. Um, and so this is a short clip. This is from the photographer. He also said, actually, I have some photos I can show you, real quick, real quick. But look at it. Look at this kid. Look at this kid. He's so happy. That's absolutely the best. It's really never gonna top it. You are correct. Never gonna top it. Thank you, Shireen. Thank you so much. Gift train. But yeah, he has such a good time. I've got a couple of. The photographer was so awesome. He came up to us after that set, and he was like, "Dude, just find me on Instagram, and I'll send you a high res of all the pictures that I took of him doing crowd surfing," which was awesome. And they turned out fantastic. I literally just downloaded them now, so you get to look at them too, along with me, very briefly. Um, just so cool. This kid, he was the coolest kid in the world last night. He really was. He he's just so damn happy. Look at that face. Okay. All right, I'm gonna get in trouble for showing him. But I'm just so proud of him. I'm so proud of him. He was like, "I'm the first one in the family to crowd surf," and I was like, Don't rub it in, buddy. Don't rub it in." Also, I don't have the guts to do it. He apparently does. Um, Amy, thank you for the gifts. Uh, Thank you, everybody. Choo choo. Um, oh, he in terms of his age, he is under 8 and over 6. He was having a ton of fun. I'm so happy that it was such a good experience for him. And I apologize for going on and on about it. I love music. I'm very passionate about live music and concerts, and supporting people of all. I totally get the joy of going to a Taylor Swift concert, but for me, being with like 120 to 160 people in a small place where it's sweaty and crazy, um, just doesn't beat it. And then sharing that with him was awesome. Just awesome. Goodness, guys. What you started early. Thank you very much. True Crime Ranch, thank you very much for the super chat and the gifts. I really appreciate it. We've got a great. I think we've got a great show tonight. I think so. But first, before I go through what we're gonna do tonight, let's look. Let's look. Oh my gosh, I can never have the same. Okay. Let's look at the top 5, shall we? I think we should. congrats to the top 5. Thank you for being in chat a little early. I actually opened it up a little early. I was very concerned. I was like, I never do this early. It's like the mods be eating and stuff. I should not do it. And then I had to make a choice and an option. Standard, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. So yes, congrats to the top 5. We've got. Can I tell you? I hear a lot of like top 10 pop songs in like grocery stores, and I will not be a fan of a certain song, but if it's catchy, I'm still gonna sing it. So much fun. I want to say thank you to Mrs. Bruce Cram for giving me the snack of choice for night court. So I've got some popcorn tonight. I've reestablished my candy collection down here. Because Elton decided the other day that he found Milk Duds tasty. He's okay. He's fine. But he's not in here tonight. So, yeah. So he's good. I'm glad he's 60 pounds. If he was small, wouldn't have been great, but he's fine now. So, yay. The sad part is there were no side effects to that. He was fine. He has a steel trap for a gut, and so now he thinks that's just how that works all the time. All right, so tonight, what are we doing tonight? So we are going to start off with watching some of the Jodi Arias trial, the continued testimony. And then probably around 9:45, we're gonna hop into night court trivia. And we're gonna go. I've got a new presentation, bigger text, numbered questions. There are bonus points available. So I have some bonus things. So what you'll do for those, and I'll explain this again, but you'll answer either the letter or true or false, and then on the same line, you'll just write whatever the bonus thing is asking you for. So it should be good. I think there's actually there's 15 points up for grabs tonight. So that's gonna be a good time. There's a lot of random stuff tonight. We went random. And then so that's gonna be at 9:45. Around 10, probably 10:30, I think. This is Eastern time. This is not helping anybody if you don't live in the Eastern time zone. But around 10:30, I have put together a video of calming music and scenes, and then we're going to try and listen. You guys responded. See, you got to be careful how you respond to things. You responded really well on Wednesday to what we did in terms of self-care and the quotes and things. And so, around 10:30, I've got this video that I'll play. And I actually have a script for a guided meditation. You guys might think it's silly. I am actually quite nervous about doing it because I've never done one before for anybody. I've done one myself listening, but never actually read. But it's a guided meditation for self-care and loving yourself or self-love. And so we're gonna go through that at 10:30. I think it's gonna be between 5 and 7 minutes. But between the music and the footage, and then maybe me, pulling myself off of the that's definitely not it. That's more like it. So, and then pulling me off of the actual hey, you're gonna miss me for 1 second, but then I'm gonna come back. Da da da. Here I am. And so it's gonna be fun. I am not a specialist. I'm not an expert. I just know what works for some people. I really kind of want to do a piece of that, if not every stream, every other stream. I think we need it. The more I see the negativity online, the more I realize there needs to be something positive thrown out. I can't just keep throwing out trials and darkness. I need to battle that with light. And so this is my version of battling with light. If you have suggestions, you're more than welcome to email me. I'm more than happy to think about using them. If you have any things that work for you, you're more than welcome to let me know, because maybe they work for other people too. So, yay. So yes, so that's the plan. That's the plan, and then Jodi's trial will be in between. But we are going to hop into this trial now. You can tell I've really learned better about how to say things. So, all right. So here's your banner. Here's our logo. And
Martinez, you may continue with cross-examination.
Ma'am, when we left off on Thursday, we were talking about your approach to an assessment in this kind of case, and one of the things that you told me was that with regard to 558,
There we go.
that was not a roadmap, but it was a guide that you used in your evaluations, correct?
Lisa!
Yes,
Additionally, with regard to your evaluations, sometimes you do interviews, correct?
correct,
And those are called the clinical aspect of the evaluation, correct?
correct.
And in addition, in this case,
our
you did
favorite court
44
reporters in
hours of
purple
interviews, correct?
again.
Yes, I did.
And additionally, you look at other materials such as written documents, correct?
Yes,
And you review those and then you make your assessment, right?
I do.
One of the things that we were talking about on Thursdays was that even though that is the process that we follow, there's no requirement, if you will, that in this process, that there actually be an interview with anybody, right?
I'm not sure.
Well, you're the one that put together this continuum, right?
Yes, but I'm not sure how you're
Yes or
applying
no,
that.
ma'am?
No, I don't understand your question,
Judge,
Mr. Martinez. I don't understand what you're asking.
With regard to 558, isn't it true that when we started your testimony in this case, we started talking about 558? Do you remember that?
I used that to define domestic violence. Yes,
Yes
I
or
did.
no?
I defined domestic violence. Yes, I did.
Ma'am, I'm just asking you whether or not this sheet of paper, you see this sheet of paper, 558?
I do indeed.
Whether or not this was used as this sheet of paper was used as part of your presentation at the very beginning of direct examination when Ms. Wilmot was questioning you, yes or no?
It was used, yes.
And when you finished your cross-examination or your direct examination on Thursday, isn't it also true that this document was used when you were talking about whether or not the defendant was abused, correct?
On Thursday?
Yes. Do you remember back to Thursday, ma'am?
I do remember Thursday.
Do you remember that Ms. Wilmot was asking you questions for most of the day?
Yes, I do.
And for a shorter portion, there was the cross-examination, right?
Yes, there was.
At the very end, do you remember that Ms. Wilmot was using this with regard to your opinion of abuse in this case? Do you remember that?
Yes, she was using it as part.
Yes, so the answer is yes, correct?
Yes, in part.
So you do use it with regard to your assessment in cases of where the issue is whether or not there's any abuse, correct?
I don't really use any specific thing. I use that as a guideline, and I don't use it to apply specifically to each case. I use it as a template in describing what domestic violence looks like, Mr. Martinez, and a range of domestic violence. That's how I use it. And I use it in training.
And you used it in this case, right?
I did not use it in regard to Miss Arias, if that's what you're asking me. I'm not
No.
sure.
No, I asked you whether or not you used it in this case in the sense that you walked into this court. Do you remember taking an oath and sitting up there early on the first day of these proceedings?
Yes,
And during the early part of those proceedings, this exhibit, this continuum of aggression and abuse was used, wasn't it?
it was used as an
Yes or no?
explanation. It was used as an
Ma'am, Judge, could
explanation.
you instruct the witness to answer, please?
She is attempting to answer that question. Ms. LaViolette, can you answer yes or no?
It doesn't feel complete, Your Honor, to answer just yes or no.
All right, Mr. Martinez.
All right then, ma'am, isn't it true that when you first testified, Exhibit 558, and Ms. Wilmot was asking you questions, it was placed underneath this machine here, and it was broadcast for everybody to see it in the courtroom, yes or no?
That's true.
And at the very end, isn't it true that this guide, this template, whatever it is, isn't it true that that was used during the questioning by Miss Wilmot at the end of your direct examination in this courtroom? Yes or no?
Yes, it was.
But you're saying you didn't use it for any purpose
celebrated.
in this case, right? That's what you're saying now.
I'm not saying that, Mr. Martinez. I'm saying I don't use it as exclusively as a diagnostic tool at all. I use it in training and to look at interventions in particular, but it also gives a more complete, and this is why it was used here, a more complete definition of domestic violence and the range of behaviors, and also looking at aggression that happens in otherwise healthy families that don't have patterns of domestic violence.
Are you done?
Yes, I am.
Did you use it in this case? Yes or no?
Wow, that was rude, Juan. Don't be rude.
Which aspect of the case?
Sustained.
Did you use it in this case as part of your presentation to the jury?
Yes, I did.
Did you use it in this case as part of your assessment of the defendant?
Not in particular.
Well, then why were we even talking about this Exhibit 558 if it doesn't even apply to this case then, ma'am?
It does apply to the case.
Well, let me do it this way. If you said you didn't use it with regard to your assessment of the defendant, then what do we even need to look at this if you didn't use it?
I use it to look at the range of domestic violence. So in that way, I looked at it. I'm not someone who just lumps a diagnosis. And as I was very clear about, this is a range, it's a continuum. So I use it in that way. It's a framework that I think about. It's something that I use to look at what's happening in a relationship. So in that way, yes, Mr. Martinez, I used it.
So nothing in this 558 applies in this case. Is that what you're saying?
No, you mischaracterized what I just
No,
said.
I'm asking you yes or no. Are you telling me, yes or no, that nothing in Exhibit 558 applies as part of your assessment in this case?
I think I just answered that question,
Is that
Mr.
yes or no?
Martinez. I said that there is a range of behavior, and I used that to look at this case.
So what is on this document then was used by you in this case as it applied to the defendant, correct?
To a certain degree.
So if we want to talk about the defendant's case and we want to talk about how it is that you reach your assessment, by necessity, we can refer to Exhibit 558, right?
In a limited way, sure.
So that's a yes, correct?
Objections, characterizes your answer.
Overruled.
Is that yes or no?
You can.
And in this case, you also went through a number of answers to the questions, and you talked about the first column, and you also talked to the
Brooks
column
tie.
to the end, didn't you?
And the design.
I talked
It almost
about all
looks
the
like a
columns.
peach.
Yes, you
Yes.
talked about every one of them in this presentation when you testified, correct?
Yes, I did.
And ma'am, one of the things that we talked about that in the context of whether or not Snow White was a battered woman, right? That's how it started, right?
I think we spent a lot of time talking.
Is that
about
yes?
Marilyn,
or no?
thank you for the
That
5
is-
memberships
yes, we
and
spent a
gifting
lot of
them.
time
I
talking about
appreciate it.
that.
Welcome to the cult and welcome back. Detect Vids, Janice Pinkston, Susan D, Queen Swope, Lori Ann. Welcome back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Get yourself your Kool-Aid with the C and the E because of copyright infringement and pull up your juror's chair by typing !seat. Thank you so much, Marilyn. I really appreciate that. Brandi really appreciates that. We all do. Thank you for your
Did
generosity.
I ask you if we spent a lot of time on it?
I'm just trying to give you a more
Ma'am,
effective answer.
Judge, would you please ask the
Ms. LaViolette, listen carefully to the question and try to answer the question you are being asked.
Okay.
Did we discuss this in connection with whether or not Snow White was a battered woman? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And with regard to that, in fact, you spoke about that back in Los Angeles in 2010. That's what your CV shows us, right?
Yes.
And in fact, that was a keynote address back in 2010, right?
Yes.
And so if
Congrats,
you
RA.
being a keynote speaker there,
amazing.
you discussed issues involving whether or not
Well,
this
isn't that
applied
special?
in connection with Snow White, right?
No, I did not.
That's so cool.
So, but you did deliver this keynote speech back in 2010, right?
It had nothing to do with this
All
particular
right.
continuum.
It had nothing to do with this particular aspect, but it did have to do with whether or not Snow White was a battered woman, right?
I think I said that that was a catchy title,
Right.
and I used the catchy title.
Right, but it was in connection to that catchy title, right?
Welcome to the party,
The
pal.
present, where you were the keynote speaker, right? Ma'am, actually, that's not true, is it?
What's not true?
Isn't it true that you did not deliver the keynote speech back in 2010 involving whether or not Snow White was a battered woman?
Well, you gave me
Yes or
the,
no? Yes or no?
no, I don't know. I don't have my CV with me, so I gave several keynote addresses, and if you are trying to trick me with a year, you can trick me with a year.
This is the issue you discussed.
I mean,
All right.
if you will allow me to
Ms.
see.
LaViolette, hold on for a moment. Mr. Martinez asked another question.
Ma'am, I want you to take a look at an exhibit, which is part of your CV, okay?
All right.
Please take a look at it and see if this is not page 3 of 34 of your CD. This is exhibit 596. You recognize it?
Yes,
And that is a true and accurate copy of that
Welcome
particular
to the
page,
party,
correct?
pal.
yes. Well, it's, yeah, part of it's of that page.
If I may have it back.
So,
I move for the admission of exhibit 596.
Any objection? Yes, Judge, we'd object unless the entire CD comes in.
Totally understand. Take care of yourself. Please.
596 is admitted.
We're nearing the end of this one. We are. The next one's going to be a doozy, too.
Exhibit 596, and let's take a look at it. And specifically, at the top, it does say keynote addresses, correct?
yes, it does.
At the bottom, it talks about Los Angeles, California, ICAN conference with Snow White, a battered woman, correct?
Correct.
Now, let me show you a copy of the syllabus of that particular conference. Please take a look at it. Specifically, take a look at page 3.
Yes,
It does reference this article, Was Snow White a Battered Woman, right?
yes,
And it was presented by ICANN, wasn't it?
yes, it was.
And it was presented in Los Angeles, right?
Correct.
And this is the syllabus that went with it, right?
That's not a,
Class schedule.
that's just a schedule. There's no syllabus
Okay,
there.
this was the schedule, okay. I move for the admission of exhibit 597.
Yes.
Now, isn't it true that exhibit 597 shows that you were not the keynote speaker, right?
I was in Las Vegas.
I'm not asking about Las Vegas, I'm asking about Los Angeles.
He always has a
Isn't it
furrowed
true
brow.
that you were not the keynote speaker?
It was considered a keynote, there were considered keynote panels, and I was
Judge,
on
would you
one.
instruct the witness to answer, please?
She is answering.
Overruled. You may continue.
I was asked to do, there were keynote breakouts, and I was a keynote breakout speaker. And it wasn't the person who was the plenary, no, but it was considered a keynote breakout.
Ma'am, the keynote speaker actually was somebody by the name of Catherine S. Connell, correct?
Yes,
And you were just,
Hold on. I don't, hold on. Let me hit a couple of things here. All right. I do too. And I think it sounded a lot like this. What the literal loud noises and screaming and gnashing of teeth. Yes, that. I don't know. I don't know if she's everything. A lot of things that she's saying are fine. I think they're backed. I just don't think they apply here.
Part of Studio 3 where people came by to listen to you in the breakout seminars, correct?
It was considered a keynote breakout, Mr. Martinez. That's why it's listed in keynote.
In your exhibit number 596, does it say keynote breakout addresses?
No, it doesn't.
So this only talks about keynote addresses, right?
I guess. I put keynote breakouts. I didn't.
Ma'am, with regard to keynote, you're the one that put this exhibit together, yes or no?
Yes.
Your CV is something that you control what goes into it, right?
Keynote breakouts
Ma'am,
are listed
Judge
with
is not answering
keynotes.
again.
Overruled. Continue your response.
Keynote breakouts are listed with keynotes. Because they're listed in the program as keynote
This is
breakouts.
silly.
So that's why I listed as a keynote. I'm not trying to misrepresent myself, Mr. Martinez, if that's what you're implying. That's not what I'm doing.
Then I move for the admission of exhibit 597, based on the fact that she said keynote breakouts.
No.
All right, 597 is admitted.
Let's take a look at this. When looking at page number 2, well, let's do page number 1. It does talk about ICAN, correct?
Yes,
And if we take a look at it down here, it does say ICAN, correct?
correct.
Then this indicates on page 3 that from 9:30 to 11, there was a keynote speaker, right?
Right.
And the person who delivered that keynote address was somebody by the name of Catherine S. Connell, correct?
Correct.
One's barking up the
Your
wrong
name's not on
tree.
there, correct?
Correct.
It doesn't.
And then you
This is
said,
not how
well,
this
I
works,
delivered the keynote
Conferences don't work
speech
like
in the
this.
plenary sections. That's what you said, right?
No, I didn't. I was the keynote in a breakout session, in a studio session, it was called.
All right, and if we then take a look at the breakout seminars, does it say keynote speaker in the breakout?
My stomach says
No.
thank you.
It
My
just
waistline
says that you're the person that's presenting that in this studio number 3, correct?
That's the way it was. You're implying that I think that I'm lying about what I do, and I don't lie about what I do, Mr. Martinez.
Ma'am, I'm not implying, I'm indicating that you're misrepresenting what you indicated here in exhibit number 596.
I was told.
Ma'am, let me finish my question, please.
Sure.
I'm not implying anything. I'm indicating that you misrepresented the fact that you were the keynote speaker with regard to this Was Snow White a Battered Woman? Because 597 indicates otherwise, doesn't it? And 597 is this one. Yes or no?
The,
Objection, non-objection.
Restate your question.
Is the portion of the CV that we're talking about, which is 596, is it accurate when it indicates that in Los Angeles, California, in 2010, you were the keynote speaker involving this Was Snow White a Battered Woman? Yes or no?
I was a keynote breakout, according to Deanne Tilton, who was the executive director of ICANN, Mr. Martinez.
I'm not asking about anybody else. I'm just asking whether or not you believe that this says that you were the keynote speaker at a breakout session.
A keynote. It doesn't say that. No, it does not say that on there.
Ma'am, and one of the things that you seemed to indicate was that you really don't need to use Exhibit 558 when you're reaching your assessment, right?
It's a frame of mind.
I understand it's a frame of mind. I'm not asking about that anymore. I'm asking about whether or not you told me previously that you really don't need to use what's in Exhibit 558 when reaching an assessment in a case such as this.
I think that you misrepresent what I say, Mr. Martinez. I think in a global term, because I have read other people's work and my work, and I think in those terms, but do I put down a piece of paper and assess that way? No, probably not, but it's up here after all these years.
Well, ma'am, what you're indicating is that you do use it, except that it's in your head. Is that what you're saying?
We're getting there.
I use it in part.
There's a lot
And it's in your
left,
head.
but
Is that
we're
what you said? That's
not
what you
going
just
to
said
watch
right now,
all
right?
of it.
Well,
I
it's
know
in
we're
my
all
head and
burnt
it's
out
on a piece of
Jodi.
paper.
And
So we're gonna watch enough so that we understand, but we're gonna get to closings and sentencing and that kind of stuff too.
with regard to this particular piece of paper, when, or this continuum, or whatever it is, did you or did you not use it in making the assessment in this case?
Objection, asked and answered.
Overruled. Did I use it at all? Did I use it because of my head? Because of what's in my head?
Did you use it? That's my question.
I used my way of thinking, which includes that.
And so if we take a look at Exhibit 558, it would reflect what's in your head, is what you're telling us, correct?
It would reflect part of what's in my head.
And nowhere in, and you didn't write a report in this case, correct?
No, I didn't.
You spent 44 hours, you reviewed a number of written documents, but you didn't put anything in writing, correct?
No, I did not.
And in your approach, nowhere are you required, for example, to talk to anybody in reaching an
Wait
assessment?
for
Are you?
it.
You're not
Wait
restricted
for
in
it.
that fashion, are you?
I'm not sure. Required by whom?
By your approach. Your approach does not require you to talk to anybody or conduct any interviews in making an assessment as to whether or not there was any abuse, right?
I was limited in what I could look at.
I'm not asking you if you were limited, man. I'm asking you whether or not this approach that we've been talking about, the one that you've told us about in this courtroom over these days, isn't it true that that approach does not require you to talk to anybody or interview anybody before you reach your conclusion?
That's not how I work.
I'm not asking you if that's how you work. Well, you say that's not how you work, right? That's what you just said, right?
That's not how I generally work. I generally do interviews.
Well,
But-
with regard to, for example, Shatanya Lay, do you remember that you gave us an opinion about what you thought about Shatanya Lay and Mr. Alexander? Do you
Yes,
remember
I
saying
did.
that?
Yes.
You didn't talk to Shatanya Lay as part of your opinion about what was going on between her and Mr. Alexander, did you?
No, I read what they wrote.
Right. So what I'm saying is you're not required under your approach to talk to anybody before you give us an opinion, right?
Two things, not necessarily my approach, and secondly, what I am given that I am able to review that I find credible.
I'm not asking about that. You're willing to come into court like you did last Thursday in the morning and part of the afternoon and give an opinion about a relationship involving people such as Mr. Alexander and Shatanya Lay without talking to Shatanya Lay and without talking to Travis Alexander, correct?
I've looked at far more than that, Mr. Martinez.
I'm not asking you what you looked at. I'm asking you whether or not you rendered an opinion in this courtroom about Shatanya Lee and Travis Alexander's relationship without talking to either of them. That's all I'm asking.
I did not speak to either of them.
But you did give us an opinion, didn't you?
On,
Whatever you gave us an opinion. You did give us an opinion, didn't you?
I gave an opinion within a context, Mr. Martinez, and I think that's important.
Whether it's looking at context or not looking at context, what you did is you read something And then you said, this is what I believe. That's what you told us, right?
What I believed based on a context, Mr. Martinez.
Right. And that context did not involve talking to either of the parties to that conversation, right?
That's true.
And in fact, though, you were able to tell us with regard to, well, what did you review with regard to Chaitanya?
I don't know if they were texts or IMs, I get them mixed up, but it was written material that involved conversation between Mr. Alexander and Chaitanya Lay.
What date?
What date?
Yeah, yes.
There was a range of dates, but
Right.
if you would refresh, I've reviewed thousands of documents, so what can I say the document that you're referring to?
No, you were the one that referred to this opinion on Thursday, weren't you, ma'am?
Judge, objection vague. What opinion?
Sustained.
Ma'am, you told us that Chaitanya Lay was vulnerable. Didn't you tell us that on Thursday as it involved her relationship with Mr. Alexander? Do you remember telling us that?
Yes,
With regard to that opinion, in terms of their relationship, whatever the relationship may have been between her and Mr. Alexander, when was that she was vulnerable? Give me a date.
Mr. Martinez, there were a range of IMs. And if you're asking me to be a history major, I'm not a history major, but I read thousands of documents. And if you can refresh my recollection, I would be happy to tell you the dates.
But you, as you sit here now, you can't tell us a time period when Ms. Lay was vulnerable in her relationship with Mr. Alexander, correct?
Which part that she was vulnerable?
You're the one that said that she was vulnerable after reading either IMs or text messages, right?
I did.
And so, wouldn't it be important to know the time period when this was happening?
The time period that this was happening was in 2008. Those were the IMs or text messages I read were during the period of time between 2008 and toward the very end of Mr. Alexander's life. Those IMs stopped.
So you're positive that it was an IM message that we were talking
I
about?
told you I don't know a text from an IM. It was a written piece of paper that I looked at,
And in that written piece of paper,
or pieces, I should say.
how many pieces of paper did you look at to form just this particular opinion involving Chaitanya Lay?
Mr. Martinez, I look at context. I don't
I'll
have
take
to
one off your
remember
hands.
exactly how many pieces of paper to form an opinion. And I
Well-
think,
Wouldn't it be important to know whether or not it's based on just one text message or it's based on a whole series, if you will, of documents involving these conversations? Wouldn't that be important for you to know?
it's based on more than one text message, I can
It's
tell you
based on
that.
what?
It's based on more than one of, there were several sheets of paper. There were numerous sheets of paper that it was based on.
One of the things that you also testified to was that in these kinds of cases, 90% of the communication is nonverbal, correct?
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
I did not say that. I said that in communication, and this is when people are looking at each other and speaking to each other, that there's a saying that 90% of communication is nonverbal. This is in face-to-face communication. I don't think we have research about what it's like now when people are doing things over the internet and Gmailing and that
So
sort of thing.
you did say that 90% of all communication in the clinical world is nonverbal, correct?
I answered that.
The answer is,
I said, in face-to-face communication, that is the understanding. I did not talk about it in regard to written communication.
didn't you say it's important to me because there is a saying in I don't know if it's all of the world, but in the clinical world, that 90% of all communication is nonverbal. That's what you said, right?
I explained how I meant that, Mr. Martinez.
Ma'am, take a look at this exhibit. It's 595. Look at the top. You can read all of it and see whether or not those words came out of your mouth earlier in the proceedings.
I don't doubt that those words.
Ma'am, please take a look at it. Please do that.
Martinez, I think you said it's 595, it's 598.
I don't.
598, I'm sorry.
I don't want to. No.
Well, within this context, we're talking about Mr.
Ma'am,
Alexander.
Please read it and tell me when you're done, okay?
Right.
Are you done?
I've read the entire paragraph.
Yes
and
or
it's,
no? So that is a yes, correct?
I've just read that paragraph. Is that?
Just, if you want, read the paragraph or read the whole thing. And when you're done, let me know. All right, may I have it back, please?
Yes.
Isn't it true that in proceedings here in this courtroom, you said, it's important to me because there's a saying in the, I don't know if it's all over the world, but in the clinical world, that 90% of all communication is non-verbal. Did you say that?
That is out of context, Mr. Martinez.
Sir, ma'am, I'm not asking you about context. I'm asking you whether that's yes or no. Did you say it or not?
It's not a yes or no answer, Mr. Martinez. It's out of context and it's not representing what I said.
Judge, I move for the admission of Exhibit 598. I understand that
Good
I'll
grief.
have to take the other part out.
Mrs. Bruce Cram has more popcorn for me. So I'll be right back.
Exhibit
Don't go
598 is
anywhere.
admitted as redacted.
5 minutes to trivia.
So I'm going to take a look at Exhibit 598. The question is asked, why is that important to you, Ms. LaViolette? You see that?
Yes.
And then the answer is, it's important to me because there's a saying in the, I don't know if it's all over the world, but in the clinical world, that 80% of all communication is nonverbal. Did you say that, yes or no?
Yes, I did.
And then there's a sentence that says, and that's one of the things that we're looking at is the communication apparently by Mr. Alexander, that although he says it's okay for her to date, and then it goes on, right?
Yes, and it is in the context of
No,
also
I'm just-
personal face-to-face communication
That
between
was my popcorn
Mr.
dance.
Alexander and Ms. Arias.
I know that's what you want to tell us, but in terms of Exhibit 598, it does say, I don't know of all the world, but in the clinical world, 90% of all communication is nonverbal. That's what it says, right?
Yes.
And if we are applying that to the conversation involving Shatanya Ray and to Mr. Alexander that you told us about last Thursday, that would mean that you were 90% wrong because there was no, you weren't able to look at the nonverbal communication, were you?
That's quite an extrapolation, Mr. Martinez.
Is that yes or no?
That's no.
And in fact, it's important to look at what the people are doing, is what you're saying, the way their bodies are when they're saying things, right?
That's true in a face-to-face. You can't do the same thing when you've got written communication. But if the written communication is consistent over time between numerous parties, that it's consistent. I don't know what else to say, Mr. Martinez.
But in communications where there are people talking, for example, in text messages, you would agree that you can't see their faces, right? You don't know what their faces look like, correct?
No.
No, you can? Or no, you can't? You can or can't?
I can't see their faces, no. I
correct.
mean,
And with regard to what the person may be doing at the time that they're sending this and how they're feeling, you wouldn't get the gist of that if you're just looking at the written word, correct?
you can get a lot from the written word.
What you're saying is that by just looking at a text message, ma'am, you can tell what an individual many years ago was feeling just by looking at a text message. This is what you're telling us, right?
What I'm telling you is that I'm looking in many, many text messages, many, many communications. That's what I had to go on. And when that is consistent, I feel like that is a pretty straightforward sort of situation.
Ultimately, what you're saying is that you are a human lie detector, right?
Gosh, I didn't think I was saying that, Mr. Martinez.
Well, you're telling us, for example, that just by looking at a communication with Shatanya Lee and Mr. Alexander, for example, you're saying they're telling each other the truth, right? You're assuming that they're telling each other the truth, right?
And I feel like that needs to be celebrated.
Based on many other communications, it's part of a context, Mr. Martinez. I've said that several times, and that's really what I mean, is I look at a context of behaviors. I don't look at an isolated situation. It's always about pattern when you're looking at this.
And when you say context of behaviors with regard to this as an example, Shatanya Lee and Mr. Alexander, what you're talking about is reading, right?
That I'm reading.
Yes.
Yes, I'm reading.
Right, you're not observing them any other place other than what is in the printed word, right?
Yes.
And what you're doing is perhaps in your office or wherever is you're looking at this and you're saying, I'm going to pass judgment
I feel
on
like
what
he's
is
been trying to do
going
that
on in this particular
entire day
conversation
so far.
without talking to anybody that's involved, right?
Like he couldn't get one over
I
on
think
her
you're
on Friday.
mischaracterizing me.
So Monday,
Well,
we're
did you
moving
talk
calling
to
her a liar.
Shatanya Lee?
No, but excuse me, I looked at, once again, Mr. Martinez, it's context. It's not this one conversation. I think that's important for people to hear, that it's about patterns and it's about context. It's not about one conversation with one person.
The point, ma'am, is this. With regard to what you may interpret as being vulnerable, could be meant as a joke by Miss Lay, and you wouldn't know it because you're not privy to what was going on at exactly that time that it was going on and couldn't see the faces. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, she stopped communicating.
He's trying to discredit what she said about Jodi. Now, we know that what she said was not accurate. Her background stuff is accurate, not applying to this. But what he's trying to do is say, you didn't see them saying this. You don't know that they said this. How much did you actually read? What did you review? Do you remember? He's trying to catch her. And she is doing a really, really good job. Whether you like her or not, whether you like what she said or not about Jodi and stuff, she's doing a great job handling him. Juan was great for people like Gus and Samuels. She's great for Juan.
With him after he talked about joking about or whatever about suicide. Apparently, she took it in a certain way and stopped communicating with him and was upset by it. So yes, part of what I'm looking at is her reaction and the fact that she stopped making communication and he continued.
She stopped communicating with him via text message, correct?
Correct.
You don't know if they called each other on the telephone, do you?
No, I don't.
You don't know what it was that they were saying on the telephone if they in fact called each other, right?
I know that he
Yes or
pressed,
no?
I know that he pressed for communication via text and she did not communicate. That's what I know.
That's what you're saying, but you don't know whether or not she relented at some point and called them. You don't know that, right?
No, I don't, Mr. Martinez.
So you're just restricted by the written word as it applies to her.
Fascinating. Wow. This is wild. This has gone over the top. But
And now for something completely different.
all right, it's time for Night Court Quiz Party, September 8th, 2023 edition. I'm so excited. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I think actually I'm safe if I do it that way. You let me know, but the words are much bigger than they used to be. All right. I hope you're ready. So here is, we're going to just talk about a couple things first. If you're new to this, we are doing every Friday is Friday night court trivia. And it's on various topics and various things. And we're totaling up the points every month. And there's going to be a monthly winner. And then at the end of the year, 12 people are going to go against each other. By the end of the year, I mean the end of the trivia year, not the calendar year. 12 people are going to go against each other in a big old trivia spectacular. We'll call it that for now. So how do you play? If you will go to our link tree, which is right True Crime Ranch, right on top of it, with koji.com/@13th Juror Live. And right underneath the night court button, there is a night court trivia button. You click that, takes you right to the forum. Now, you can write your answers down on a piece of paper or in the notes app on your phone. You don't have to put them in right away. After the restructuring of points, that whole time thing is not a thing. You can answer these on your honor, not using outside sources. You can answer these and turn them in as late as Wednesday next week at 8:45 when we go over the answers. But, and I would definitely get out a sheet of paper, though. And I will go through the questions and then go back through them. But while we're talking a little bit about that, so scoring wise, you have until the following Wednesday, like I said, at 8:45 to submit your answers using the Google form. Quizzes are awarded points based on how many correct answers you submit. So, for instance, you get 10 correct questions or 10 correct answers, you get 10 points. In this case of tonight, if you get, I'm turning this off. It's way too loud. No, there you go. Okay. In this case, that sounds a lot better in my ears. In this case, if you get 10 questions right and then the 5 bonus points, you get 15 points. Okay. Is Brandi here? My shirt matches the graphic. I try. What are you going to do? Hi, Brandi. I'd say I miss you, but I talk to you every day. It's the best. So at the end of each month, like I said, a monthly winner's crowned and points reset. And at the end of the year, 12 winners. I like this better than Trivia Spectacular. An epic trivia challenge. All right. And you will be happy to know that I've made all of the words bigger and I have numbered every single question. So let's get started. But before that, let's take a look at the leaderboard, shall we? You got just enough space. So that's the top 41. That's 41 people who have played so far. Just because you haven't played yet doesn't mean it's too late to play. Again, points reset every month, so you can get your practice in now. But also with bonus points, you never know how things are going to flip around. So things can change. Alrighty. Here we go. Number 1. My picture's still not small enough. Okay. Numero uno. True or false? The Eiffel Tower grows in the heat of the summer because of the warming of the tower's iron. True or false? The Eiffel Tower grows in the heat of the summer because of the warming of the tower's iron. As a bonus point, if you can guess within an inch the total amount that it grows, if it does so, what is it? I kind of gave you the answer, didn't I, with that bonus point? I gave you an answer to number 1 with the bonus. Oh, well, didn't think about it. Shame on JT. It's a freebie. So true or false, and then bonus point if you can guess within an inch the total amount that the Eiffel Tower grows, that'll be a bonus point. Okay. I don't think I do that again, but we'll see. Ah! Oh, hi!
I'm gonna bite my pillow. It's what I'm gonna do.
Scared the crap out of me. Also, yes, no answers in the chat, please. Not one answer in the chat. Don't do that. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I wanted to pop in and say hello. I have been recording. I'm still recording.
Oh, no. That's
It's taking me forever, but I'm like, okay, I need to like back away from it for a second and then go back in and like, like just step away from it for a minute because I'm like stuck at one part. So I wanted to pop in and say hi and scare you apparently.
I was looking at my screen with the question, right? And I turned and I was like, "What? Who is in here? Oh my god!" Except it sounded like because yes, I do indeed scream. If you get me, very rarely do people actually scare me, but if you get me, you're absolutely gonna get that for sure. There's no doubt.
That's hilarious. I just missed everybody. I wanted to come in and say hi. This has been a weird week, so I haven't seen everybody much. We haven't got to chat much, so I want to pop in and say hello. Take a little break from the podcast. I'm so excited about the podcast, so it's a good thing. But I miss our people. I miss our streams. But we'll be back to normal. Hopefully, Dr. G will feel better. So we'll have him next week, and then we go back to our sex therapist trial, and then I'm going to do a stream on Monday to introduce everybody to the Karen Reed stuff, since we're going to be doing the podcast of that every week. So it'll be fun.
Yes, and definitely tune in. The podcast has got a lot of great stuff on it. A lot of great recaps from Brandi, of course, and then
Sidebars.
the sidebars so far. So.
Yeah.
And then this brand new thing this brand new series that you're doing.
Yeah.
And Brandi and I were talking about how to identify the different episodes and stuff. And you'll know the series that you're listening to by the album cover on the podcast. So some podcasts have the same album cover every time. For us, the series will determine what the cover is. So our podcast will have a bunch of different covers and designs, but that'll let you know what you're listening to. But it'll be the same feed, just different.
Yeah.
Just different covers.
All of the court recaps will be the 13th Juror thing. Thank you, Shireen. I appreciate that. I missed y'all too. All of the court recaps will have the Juror logo on there. And then Sidebar will have the Sidebar logo. And then this will be the different one. I posted it on Twitter, but it's the snow. It's like a snowy background because there's like controversy about this happened right as a big blizzard came in and stuff. So it's crazy. But the way that I've laid it out and I've been working on this for weeks in between everything else. But the way that that I'm laying it out is the first episode, the one I've been working on now. I think that's why this one's so hard, because I'm trying to fit, like, the first one's going to be kind of a general overview of the whole case and everything, and then each week I'm going to take a piece of the evidence, because every single piece of evidence is controversial, every single one. So each week is going to be a different piece of evidence, and I'm going to deep dive on that, and I'm going to give the state's theory and the defense's theory, which some people are calling the conspiracy theory, but it's the defense's theory that she's being framed. So, and then I'm going to bring on like guests and stuff. So, I'll have some names that we recognize, to go over, like, some experts for, different things, and attorneys and stuff like that. So it'll be kind of cool. So it'll be a lot of fun. I will put it on, we can put it on YouTube, right? Can't we? We can put the podcast on YouTube too.
For sure.
But I'll do, because I know people were asking, but about that the last time too. But I'll see if we could do it like with a slideshow of some of the pictures, so that y'all can see who it is. I can't time it up. It would take too much time for me to try to time up the pictures as I'm talking about different people. But maybe we can set it up to do a slideshow or something. But on Monday we will do, after, if Dr. G comes on Monday, then we'll do this after that. But the plan is right now, since Monday we won't have the sex therapist trial, because they'll be back Monday, but we won't have that feed until Tuesday, to do the Karen Reed introduction on Monday. So that'll be cool. So then that kind of introduce everybody into what I've been working on.
Yes, I'm so excited. There's a couple things that happened while you were giving them summaries. One, Shunk of Bacon. Is it still a tweet since it's X now? First off, I refuse to call it X. It's stupid. But what I do like though is that if you're DMing somebody, I will call it a DMX. So that will happen. Also, Marilyn, thank you for gifting 5 more memberships. That's 10
Oh,
total
thank you,
tonight she's
Marilyn.
gifted. Welcome, Lady Glencoe, Miss Justice Jones, Lauren Farmer, Historic Publishing, and Parrot Court TV, which I am going to go to your channel because there are parrots involved. And I think everybody needs a little parrot in their life. And then also, what else happened? Oh, Samantha, thank you. Thank you very much.
Samantha
It is
M.
needed.
Yeah, it is. It's been a week. You know, I've been working really hard, but the reason I'm covered up is because I'm in my pajamas, and so I was like, I'll just put my burrito blanket on. But so even though I'm like working this whole time, I'm sitting here with, you know, I ain't got on no bra and no britches. So that's a form of self-care in and of itself. So I am happy with that. And it's, you know, and I can't do that when I'm live all day. So I see you, sneaky little ninja. Karen Reed, somebody asked who Karen Reed is. She is a professor, was a professor in the Boston area. Her boyfriend is John O'Keefe, and he was a Boston police officer, and he was killed in January 2022. And she was arrested and said, yes, that's a comfy day. She was arrested and charged with his death. They said that she backed over him and it killed him. And that math ain't mathin' when you start looking at things. There's a lot of red flags, and I'm not usually a conspiracy theorist type at all. But that's why this one, I started on the rabbit hole and then, you know, got sucked in because it's so much. And that's why each, you know, like I said, the first episode is going to be the kind of overview of everything, but each week is going to be a deep dive on one piece of evidence because I mean, it's wild. It's wild. And it's so controversial. There's like people, you know, getting like huge fights about this and stuff. And I mean, it looks like and this is not like just a conspiracy of one person doing something. This is huge. So, you know, we're going to deep dive in and see what we think. So that's who that is, Karen Reed. But I will show so many red flags, and getting worse by the day. There's more motions that were filed today. Those are not going to be in the episode 1, but they'll be coming up. I'll get into them on the upcoming stuff. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. I put a lot of work into it, and I'm excited.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate it. I cannot tell y'all how much I've missed y'all. It's just the positivity of this group and these people. And this has just been an off week, you know, in so many different areas. So I'm glad to be back to normal, pretty much normal schedule next week so we can spend more time together. I miss hanging out with my jurors all day. So
Sam, you retracted it, but I'm gonna put it up anyways because Freudian slip of the tongue.
Oh dang! Look, I don't have no britches on. I'm getting kisses. Look at there. See, it was worth coming on.
She also misses you too.
I miss you too. I do miss y'all. It really is like y'all are such a positive light in such a, you know, what can be such a toxic world. And it like spending the day with y'all, even though we're watching, you know, heavy stuff and going through heavy stuff, it really does. Like it is amazing what a difference it makes, you know, to have such positivity around you all day. So I'll be glad to get back on track next week and dig back into our trials. So thank you, Holly Berry. Hi, Holly Berry. I love that. I love her little emoji thing running.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we were looking. What was it? Holly Berry was on our first. Holly Berry was on our first stream. Was it the first or was it our first milestone one? I can't remember. We were watching the other day when we were on Verdict Watch or something, and there's a lot of our people in here that I saw that were in there, and we're gonna get, when we hit the 10K mark, we're gonna get some clips together of some of our like milestones and stuff. But I started kind of making a list of the people who were in our very first stream when I didn't know what I was doing and I messed everything up.
I want to. You know what? I've been avoiding going back, but I kind of want to go back. It's just a lot of me going like this.
Well, the first one is even worse because I didn't have you there. I had you like helping, like you were in chat, but you remember the first one, like because it wasn't until like the second or third night that I tricked you into coming on and then just never let you leave. So that first one, I'm like this and my microphone's not working. It's like the first like minute and a half is me trying to figure out how to get the microphone unmuted and I only had like my little Chromebook, so you can see like the StreamYard thing. So it's like the portal thing where it looks like everything's. I mean, it was. I
completely blocked out the Chromebook. I completely blocked that out.
Yeah, that's all it was. It's crazy.
You know what though? You don't need. Listen, this tells you that you don't have to start with much. You just have to have the gung ho and stick to itiveness.
Yeah.
Just saying. You know?
It's true. And that was, when I talked to RA about, starting, I was like, because I wasn't like starting because I was like, hey, I'm going to be a, full-time streamer all the time. I was like, I want to watch Valor and I want to do it with people that, are going to like that, that I love, that I can experience this with. And, it's something that I was doing like the recap videos and stuff anyway. So, and he was like, well, just do it. You're never going to be ready. So just do it. Just don't wait until you're ready because you'll never do it. You just need to do it. So I just did it. And Lord knows I wasn't ready. And you can tell when you watch those first videos. There's like no intro, no outro. It's just all of a sudden it's on and I'm going like, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Oh yeah. I was so shy when I first got like, well, that's why I ghosted RA in the beginning. I was like, no, I can't go on live. I cannot be on live. Like I do my recap videos, but nope, I cannot be live. There's no way. So I ghosted RA because I did not think I could do live YouTube, which is really funny now.
That's not true. You can do 9 hours at a time.
Oh, yeah, I know. Oh, gosh. And some of those marathon days, like where it's like the verdict watch and stuff. I think the longest that I did was like 14 hours or something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. Yeah, the one that I was crying. Which one, Indy Cindy? Because there's been multiple.
Honestly, that first monetization one was insane.
Yeah. That's going to be really fun at the 10K party because, I want to do some clips of that and show some of those moments, like the very first. I showed everybody when we were on Verdict Watch the other day my very first video that I ever did when I was trying to, because everybody was like, I kept doing my Murdoch charts and everybody was like, put it on YouTube, I was like, I don't have YouTube. I don't know how to work YouTube. So I finally tried. I was like, okay, I'll put it on YouTube. Because they're like, if you put it on YouTube and just explain it, and I was like, all right, fine. So my very first video, it's like 40 seconds. And I put it up because I was like, you know what? This is going to be, if I end up making more videos, I'll look back at this one day and laugh. And so I left it up. It's on there. You can pull it up anytime you want to see it. But it's like 40 seconds of me going, trying to figure out how to hit the button to turn it on. And it was on. And I had no idea. So, and I left it up as my first video because it truly was my first video. I was like, well, this is me being honest about, who I am as a person.
You looked like a Skype chat. Sweet and innocent until it ain't. Yeah, it was funny because I feel like a good chunk of the advice that we had gotten, or you had gotten from various folks, like, you just have to do it. There's never a good time. I feel like it's the exact same advice people gave me for having a kid. There's never a good time. You just have to do it. You just gotta go for it. So
yeah. Oh yeah, because if you could prepare and prepare and prepare, and you're still never going to be ready. You don't know what you don't know until you realize you don't know it. So,
And you
and I didn't
gotta
know
be okay with
anything.
it.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I've made so many mistakes on here, like with technology stuff, going wrong, and like, losing my cool and having to mute my microphone while I scream at attorneys, and like I mean, and it's not ever going to be perfect. Actually, Twitter following Murdoch charts. See, I could do the Murdoch charts, and then when they told me to put them on YouTube, that's when I had no idea what the heck I was doing.
It's amazing to me how not how far. It sounds demeaning for me to say this, but you didn't have a YouTube.
No, I did not have a YouTube.
You didn't have a Twitter.
No.
So truly, I mean this with me, best intentions, of course.
Yeah.
Just the fact that you went from that in a very short period of time to not even a year where you're here, you're where you're at now.
Yeah.
Is just awesome. And not just you, but me too. Is fun. So I'm just and I'll pat you on the back too.
Thank you. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's truly crazy. I am just, I mean, it's like, I think February or something was my first tweet, because the Murdoch trial started in January, and I think February was my first tweet, and that was just because somebody in the group that I like, the discussion group that I was in on Facebook. I was in like multiple discussion groups on Facebook, and it was like, because I wanted so bad to like talk about this, because my friends are like, oh, you're talking about more murder stuff, all right, cool, but can we go get our nails done? Like, so it's like, like they're talking about like normal things that normal people talk about, and I'm like, oh my God, there's this murder that just, so I would get into like these Facebook discussion groups, and they could be so toxic, but I was like, I just wanted so badly to talk to people about this and like talk about the ideas and stuff, and so I was in multiple groups, and I had made this chart, and my girlfriend who lives in Charleston, we met in college, and she's in the law field, and so she's super, and she's in Charleston, so she's like super into Murdoch. She actually had done a trial with one of the Murdochs, the brother. So she and I were so into this, and we were literally texting each other all day, every day. And I was like, I can make this work. I was like, I guarantee I can chart this out, because everybody kept saying there's no way he had time. And I was like, and they started giving the timestamps of stuff. And I was like, I can make this work. And I sat here texting back and forth with her. That's how the whole thing got started. And then I put it in that group, and somebody asked me to put on Twitter. And I was like, I don't know how to Twitter or whatever. So and then I did, and it went viral. So I was like, oh.
And I want to say this, and I just looked this up because I wanted an updated number, and it hasn't changed in like 3 months. It's amazing to me that we've obviously had a varying number of members, right? And eventually gifted memberships expire and things like that, and that of course is going to happen. But like overall, we have had less than 60 memberships that were just flat out canceled. Most of it's just gifted memberships that are expired.
Yeah.
And the fact that out of all of that, and all the hours, and all the everything that has happened, and I say this to you a lot, especially with like our stats, like our podcast stats are through the roof for the time period that we've been up and active.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just unheard of. So it's great. And, we owe all of that, obviously, especially memberships, literally to you guys. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
You are right, Shireen. This is not
Thank God for that. Thank God for that.
There needs to be a place online where you can go.
Yeah.
And there are very few. They are very few and far in between.
Yeah.
So here we are, though.
I love it. Yes. And that's good. I mean, like there's, I know I get all like sentimental about it, but I really am I'm so thankful for this group, because I mean, things can get tough, and everybody is just so freaking supportive. And I love that, like, we can all come and watch stuff, and, and then like we'll have like the occasional troll and stuff, and they were all like, all right, because mods are like, whack a troll. Like as soon as they come in, they're handling it and just keeping everything nice. I love it.
You guys don't know this, but like when trolls come in, like there's like an APB that's put out on Discord, and they're just like, yeah, be on the lookout. Or sorry, APB and a bolo. Sorry, what am I talking about? They put out a bolo, literally bolo.
Yeah.
It's good. It's really good. It is. It's exactly what it is. Luckily, though, I mean, there are days. There are very, very melly days. But for the most part, everybody kind of behaves in our chat. Now, the mods right now just roll their eyes probably, and they're like, "Well, of course you see that." But yes, we do.
Yep.
These look so comfy, and I was like, I want to join.
It wouldn't be our first time that we've matched though, but like we show up, which this time I showed up and you were matching the graphic, which was great, but
I try.
Yeah.
And by that I mean it's a total accident every time.
Right. Oh, that's funny. Oh. All right, well, I will let y'all get back to it. I just wanted to pop in and say hi. I see y'all talking about Arias chat. I saw that he got to 20. Did he get to 27? I know he was
27.
He hit 26 when I was in there.
Yeah.
In 27. I had him like on one of my screens, but it was muted because I was working. So I wanted to like give him all of my viewer hours, and like kind of keep an eye on what was going on. But I was working, so I didn't get to actually pay that much attention. But it's a portal robe. Yes, Indy Cindy, a portal robe. That's a good portal sound. But I didn't get to see a whole lot of it, but I saw that he had like 4.2 billion people in there watching the manhunt. So that's awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Jill, you are the mods are amazing.
Yeah. I could not do what the mods do.
I would know.
I couldn't.
Not at all.
I couldn't.
One, I'm too distractible, but two,
yeah,
my mental health would.
Yeah. Because like if I had to address everybody that was, oh my god, like during Melly, I thought they're all gonna leave me. Nobody's gonna want to stay. So I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna do the Melly trial again. I don't think I can handle it now that the whole Murdoch stuff has come back up.
In my expert opinion, I don't suggest it.
I don't know that I have. I might do it on the podcast, like do the podcast recaps, because then I don't have to listen to people's mouths or read their hateful words. But I don't know that I can do. Jodi Sex calling Melly got us all trying to quit.
You know what though? Brandi and I are very realistic in the fact that I don't know, Brandi, if it went through your head, but in my head I was like, yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm good.
It's just so much. And the thing is like I've gotten to this point where I have, I'll settle a discussion. My hubby and I haven't, are you on your deck? He thinks you are. No, I am actually, I wish.
She has shiplap for days.
I have shiplap for days. I have, my whole condo is done in shiplap. But the shiplap, I don't know if you can see like right where the screen ends, the shiplap ends. It's like chest high-ish. And then the top of my walls are black.
Ooh.
Let me see.
And to that I say,
spicy.
It's like my whole everything. Oh, I forgot we're in underpurchase.
Oh, Alyssa, you're not kidding. And I said this to a few folks. Murdaugh is laughing because he's still having an impact.
I'm trying to cover
Um,
myself because I'm not wearing.
He's just laughing in his cell. You can't see it, Brandi. Alyssa said I was finally starting to forget how toxic people get over Murdaugh, and then this week happened. Ugh.
All right, can you see? So it's like I've got.
That's a pretty color.
It's like this. It's black, but
Like
it's
midnight.
it's like a midnight black. So I've got and then I've got the shiplap ceilings too.
Oh my gosh. All the ship
shiplap. So that is my whole condo. I say my whole condo like it's huge. I have a tiny condo.
You have been warned not to show your goodies.
Yeah, I
don't think there's a gift train long enough.
No, it ain't that kind of show. I am wearing like it's like they're kind of shorts.
They're kind of shorts.
Yeah, I mean, like I would never go out in public with them, and like if I had worn them, say in high school, like my daddy would have grabbed me by the earlobe and pulled me back inside and told me to put some britches on. But I mean, technically they're shorts, but they're like hoochie mama shorts, so they're not like the kind that you show to the public.
DJ said smooches to Lucy.
Woosie. She just
And Captain said, and Brandi, get them ratings, girl.
mind your business.
Choo choo.
Mind your business. Mind your business.
I mean, I feel like they are making it their business.
Oh, speaking of business, has nothing to do with business. Do you see my new trolls? My Halloween trolls that Brother Brewmeister sent me. Okay, look. So I have this one, and look at the little. How cute is that?
They're so much better than I thought they'd be.
They are so good.
I love when it happens.
And then look at this one with. Let's see. Can you see his little teeth? His little vampire teeth and his cape. And then the witch. I relate to her. I feel like she's my spirit. Know me. And then, of course, you can't have Halloween trolls without the Undertaker. Look how cute that is.
Undertaker.
Oh my gosh.
Rest
So I've got my.
80s Music Man says, I wear kind of shorts.
You wear what? I wear kind.
He wears kind of shorts.
You wear kind of shorts. Okay, well, good. Then I'm not the only one.
Shuck Bacon. I like the name.
I mean, that's basically what they are, but that's like that's like the old. I hadn't heard that term for them for probably since I was in high school. That's so funny. So funny.
So like 3 years ago.
Right. Yes. Except for my kid was in high school 3
I
years
know.
ago.
I know who butters the bread.
Oh yeah. I brought my kid in, or I didn't bring him in. He comes. He came on his own. But he brought me Chick-fil-A tonight, so I stopped and took a break and had supper with him, and I had him listen to the intro that I'm doing for the first episode, not the intro for like all of them, but just for the first episode. And I'm so excited about it, and he loved it too, which made me feel good. But I've got like this ominous music or whatever, and I've got like all these news clips that kind of are lined up together to tell like a simple like 1 minute little outline of the story. And so I listened to it, and he was like, "Oh, who made that for you?" And I was like, "I made it." And he said that it was like, how did he word it? Something about how it was too good that he didn't think I did it. I was like, well, first of all, thank you. Second of all, you're grounded. But you can't ground them when they don't live with you anymore. Apparently that's a thing. So, but I did try. But I was like, okay, if I have like a 20-year-old's approval, then, that means
That's pretty impressive.
Because they're critical.
You don't need me to listen to it anymore.
Oh no, I do. But they're I will need to check PO. Okay, I can do that. I can do that on the way back from the doctor's office. I am I figured he'd be like, what is this? What is that? But he actually liked it. So I was like, okay, if I have a 20-year-old's approval, they're like the hardest in the world. Nothing makes them happy. So
no, it's a nice confidence boost for sure.
yeah.
Is there Melly music in the background?
No,
Your face.
no, you're grounded now too. Chunk of bacon, you're grounded too.
No more Uncrustables for you, Shunka. Oh, man. Oh, don't be heartbroken.
Why are you
You're
heartbroken?
fine. You caught me, you caught Brandi, and I am going to go back to the first question. So you haven't missed trivia either.
I just
Sam,
interrupted everything. So, I love your humor, Southern charm, and truth for justice heart. I love your humanity, and I love to be kindness. Oh, spirit acceptance of the world, best you've ever. Oh, that's so sweet, Samantha. Thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
In the non-verbals of my good friend Eric Carter Landine.
That's sweet.
Oh man. Well, you go rest. I feel like you've probably been working all day.
I have. I'm gonna try to finish up this a little bit because I don't work on football Saturdays. So I've got to finish tonight because football tomorrow. Like I very rarely take time off, but I mean football season on Saturdays. I mean it's like not allowed. So
I like how you watch way more football than I do.
Oh yes, I'm into it. I have to.
My favorite is really just how testosterone driven it is, and yet the quarterback is just like right there to get the ball. Just saying.
I love it.
Just gonna toss that out. I mean, literally, it is quite honestly one more pair of pants than an OnlyFans page. So,
but one pair of pants can make a big difference on an OnlyFans page. So
well, it does. I mean, it's on national TV.
Yeah,
you know.
Oh
man.
I love it. All right, y'all. I will let you get to your trivia. I just wanted to portal in and scare JT and say hi, and I've missed y'all so much. And I got to put this on there before I go. Go dogs! Go dogs! Yes.
Did I ever tell you that I met those mascots?
No. Did you?
Yeah. I went to, because this will be surprising to nobody. I went to it was a cheerleading competition, but they had a mascot side of that competition. And the Georgia dogs were there, both of them. There were two of them.
Oh.
And they were nice folks. Nice folks. I love their suits. Their costumes are awesome. So,
yeah.
But yeah. Now this was
Hairy Dog
back in 2009. So
that's Hairy Dog. And well, I mean, like the actual mascot is Uga. Well, now it's like Uga. What number? It's like fat and cute, and
not the actual dog.
I know, but I'm saying like that one's Uga, but the mascot, like the costume mascot, because it's two different. Because people get that confused. It's two different. You know. Mm-hmm. Two different names for our mascots. So we have like our real live mascot is like, cute little fat Uga who sits in his thing and just, drools all day. And then we have but Hairy Dog is our like actual mascot, like you mascot. So that would be the one that you met. But that is one of the coolest costumes, and they are talented. They are talented.
Yes. They're very, very talented.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. True Crime Ranch. I didn't know that. I was a cheerleader for 2 years. I was a back. That's not a surprise to you, though, because you used to coach. And it's also not a surprise to anybody that I was a cheerleader. Anyways.
You are graceful enough to be a flyer. You could have been a flyer.
At that point, I probably weighed. Yeah, they could have tossed me. A lot of those ladies are very strong. That is a hell of a sport. I don't know how they do it. It's really impressive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Anyways.
It's tough. All right, y'all. I love you so much. So much. Thank you for letting me pop in. And I'm sorry that I've interrupted trivia, but I wanted to come see all my besties. All right. I love y'all. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Aw, that was the best. Yes, I used to be a cheerleader and I used to back. And at one point, I had temporarily, because I learned that I really can't do it, partner stunted with somebody who ended up becoming a Ravens cheerleader, which is fun. Oh, we need the bases. All about that base. About that base. I'm just saying. Well, I like them already then. I'm just very impressed with that. Okay, so we are going to go back to the quiz, and we're going to start over so that Shireen can get an accurate time stamp for it. Thank you for messaging me. All right, so I'm going to go back through it. If you're not sure about how to play this, totally fine. Just write down the answers, and what I'll do is right before we go to the next thing, I will show you what the website looks like, the Koji website, and what to click on and how to enter your stuff so that you have those answers. I don't want to leave anybody kind of up in the air and confused. All right, so starting again. True or false? The Eiffel Tower grows in the heat of the summer because of the warming of the tower's iron. This was a freebie because my bonus point gave it to you. If you can guess within an inch, the total amount it grows. And yes, Polly, mods do get to play. Absolutely. You all have never seen these questions. Nobody's seen these questions. Just me and my 5 personalities. So again, true or false, the Eiffel Tower grows in the heat of the summer because of the warming of the tower's iron. Bonus point if you can guess within an inch the total amount it grows. And please, yes, no answers in chat. No answers in chat. Polly, just write down your answers right now, and then I'll show you where you can enter your answers when we're done. Or you can go to Linktree, click on the Night Court answer form, and you can type them in there. All right, question number 2. What percentage of their lives do sloths spend upside down? A, 50%, B, 35%, C, 90%, or D, 25%. Also, I was so happy to find this video, and it made me so happy. That sloth is so happy right now. What percentage of their lives do sloths spend upside down? A, 50%, B, 35%, C, 90%, or D, 25%. And yes, Indy, we're on number 2. I did put numbers on the screen so you know which question it is. And I also made the words bigger. Those were 2 comments that I got last time, and I'm happy that I remembered. All right, so that was number 2. Number 3. True or false? The longest recorded flight of a chicken was 13 seconds. Bonus point if you can tell me a why did the chicken cross the road joke that makes me laugh out loud and embarrass myself wherever I'm scoring the quizzes. So true or false? The longest recorded flight of a chicken was 13 seconds. Bonus point if you can tell me a why did the chicken cross the road joke that makes me laugh out loud and embarrass myself wherever I'm scoring the quizzes. I almost wrote makes me LOL. And then I realized you're not 16, JT. All right, so that was question number 3. Here comes question number 4. Is a chicken. The term mortgage comes from the French roots mort and gage. This literally translates to A, death pledge, B, big bill, C, monthly payment, or D, you'll never pay this off, nana nanny boo boo. Number 4, the term mortgage comes from the French roots, I'm saying it wrong, I'm sure, mort and gage. This literally translates to A, death pledge, B, big bill, C, monthly payment, and D, you'll never pay this off, nana nanny boo boo. It is multiple choice or true or false. It's both. All right. Number 5. Number 5, a group of flamingos is called A, pack, B, crew, C, cast, or D, a flamboyance? I will review them. We'll go over them at a higher speed at the very end. That's the good part about not having to turn the answers in until Wednesday at 8:45 next week. You can go back and check this out. Number 5, a group of flamingos is called an A pack, B, crew, C, cast, or D, flamboyance. All right, moving on to number 6. True or false? I don't know why that's slowing down so much. I downloaded this. Okay. In the 1800s, doctors resuscitated drowning victims by using tobacco smoke enemas. True or false? In the 1800s, doctors resuscitated drowning victims by using tobacco smoke enemas. Bonus point if you include a pun with your answer, like a separate pun. It doesn't have to be part of the answer, obviously. It's true or false. But bonus point if you include a pun with your answer that involves this procedure. Tee. Again, true or false? In the 1800s, doctors resuscitated drowning victims by using tobacco smoke enemas. I don't even know how that worked, but it doesn't sound like it's fun. All right. Moving on to number 7. The first recorded use of OMG, standing for oh my God, was in the following decade. A, 1890s. B, 1910. Tens. I don't know why I put S's. It doesn't matter. C, 1980s. Or D, 2000s. Bonus point if you can tell me who the person was that used it. The first recorded use of OMG, standing for oh my God. Oh my God, you guys. If Annie's in the chat, she knows what I'm talking about. Was in the following decade. A, 1890s. B, 1910. C, 1980s. Or D, 2000s. And again, bonus point if you can identify the person who used it. Okay, moving on. I don't like how it's slow. True or false? The first webcam was utilized in 1993, where researchers used it. There's an R in researchers. Oops. Used it to monitor a coffee pot. True or false? The first webcam was utilized in 1993, where researchers used it to monitor a coffee pot. Alyssa, you're welcome. Bet you didn't have that on your bingo card, Alyssa. All right, that's number 8. Number 9. In California, you cannot legally buy a mousetrap without having what? A, identification card. B, a joke about cheese. C, a hunting license. Or D, a summarized story about the hardship the mouse has caused you. Number 9, in California, you cannot legally buy a mousetrap without having what? A, an identification card. B, a joke about cheese. C, a hunting license. D, a summarized story about the hardships the mouse has caused you. All right, that was number 9. Number 10. Where was the world's first... Worlds has a... You know what? It really sucks to make a mistake and be a technical writer and editor. Where was the world's first speeding ticket issued? A, United States. B, Canada. C, England. Or D, Germany. And you get a bonus point if you can tell me or guess. A lot of these you could guess for bonus points, and you might get it. Within 10 years, what the year was that it was issued. So where was the world's first speeding ticket issued? A, United States. B, Canada. C, England. Or D, Germany. And a bonus point if you can tell me within 10 years the year it was issued. Again, the total points up for grabs tonight, 15. There are 15 points up for grabs tonight. And now I am going to go back to page, I think it's 3. Yep, and we're going to go through it. Crystal, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. Mr. D50, Jill Sturgis, P. Brown, Just Me, Keep Guessing, welcome to the cult, welcome back to the cult. Either one, it works. Grab your Kool-Aid and your juror's chair. Exclamation point seat. Crystal, thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, here we go. We're going to go on to speed round. True or false, the Eiffel Tower grows in the heat of the summer because of the warming of the tower's iron. Bonus point if you can guess within an inch the total amount it grows. Number 2, what percentage of their lives do sloths spend upside down? A, 50%, B, 35%, C, 90%, or D, 25%. 3, true or false, the longest recorded flight of a chicken was 13 seconds. Bonus point if you can tell me a why did the chicken cross the road joke that makes me laugh out loud and embarrass myself wherever I'm scoring the quizzes. In the event that you do tell me one, I might share them on the stream on Wednesday. Number 4, the term mortgage comes from the French roots mort and gage. This literally translates to A, death pledge, B, big bill, C, monthly payment, or D, you'll never pay this off. Boo-boo. Number 5, a group of flamingos is called an A, pack, B, crew, C, cast, or D, flamboyance. True or false? Number 6, true or false? In the 1800s, doctors resuscitated drowning victims by using tobacco smoke enemas. Not enemies. Enemas. It's what you think it is. Bonus point if you include a pun with your answer that involves this procedure. Number 7, the first recorded use of OMG, standing for oh my god, you guys, was in the following decade. A, 1890s, B, 1910s, C, 1980s, or D, 2000s. And that's 2000 to 2009, right? Or right before 2010. That's what I mean by that. Bonus point if you can identify the person who used it. True or false, the first webcam was utilized in 1993, where researchers used it to monitor a coffee pot. Number 9, in California, you cannot legally buy a mousetrap without having what? A, identification card. B, a joke about cheese. C, a hunting license. Or D, a summarized story about the hardship the mouse has caused you. Number 10, where was the world's first speeding ticket issued? A, United States. B, Canada. C, England. Or D, Germany. Bonus point if you can tell me, within 10 years, the year it was issued. Okay. So that is the quiz for tonight. And now I'm going to go to our link tree. So you can see here, actually, let's, yeah, it's probably the best we got. Well, there we go. A little bigger. I'll full screen it too. So you can see, and zoom in. On the link tree, if you scroll down to night, you can see Night Court here, right here, Night Court Quiz Party. You click on that. And you'll see the Night Court Quiz Party answer form or entry form. What you'll do is you'll put your YouTube screen name in the space below. You don't have to put the @ sign. You can just put your username. That helps me kind of alphabetize and make sure everybody gets the points. So enter your YouTube screen name in the space below. On what date was this quiz given? That helps me make sure everything stays together in a nice little package. And then you will answer the questions. It's 1 through 10. You just put your answer on the line. For the bonuses, all you need to do is put true or false, and then put what the bonus was on the same line. It doesn't need to be on a separate line or anything like that. Not difficult. Just keep writing. Okay. And then when you're done at the bottom, you hit submit. End of story. And then what happens is I can show you what it looks like on my end, because that's sometimes fun. All right, so this is how it comes to me completely, just a white spreadsheet. And then I will go through each and every line, and I mark what was right, what was not right. And here's your timestamp, and that tells you when you turned it in. And then if you scroll over here, I will get the total correct, and those are the points that you get, because you get the number of points for how many you got correct. All right. And it is the September 8th, and you guys are already turning things in, which is pretty cool. And I'm going to close that out because I don't want to give you answers. Da da da. So there it is. So that's your quiz for this week. I know it was very random, but I was feeling random today, this afternoon, when I put it together. So here's I know I mentioned 10:30 as the or 10:45, one of those, as the time that we're gonna do the whole self-guided meditation thing. We're gonna give Juan another like 15 minutes, and then we'll do that, and then we'll continue on until the end of the show. All right. So I am going to exit out of this. Give myself a banner again and a logo. And then continue on.
Right?
Yes.
Oh, and if you feel like you need to go back, and if you feel like you need to watch the questions again, you are more than welcome to go back in this video at any time or come back to it at any time. Okay? All right.
And with regard to Reagan, do you remember Reagan?
Yes, I did.
And her last name is Housley, right?
Yes, it is.
How many
No.
items did you review with regard to her? Or was it just one or two?
No, it was more than one or two. One of them was 18 pages long. There were a number that were long.
And one of the things that you told us with regard to Reagan was that she was also vulnerable, right?
Yes,
And that conversation took place on May 19th of 2008, right?
I would have to see the date. I don't know the date unless you show me the communication.
In terms of benchmarking it, you read it pretty closely, didn't you?
I did. I read thousands of things. And if you'd like to show me that and recollect the date, I'd be happy to look at it.
I'm not asking you whether or not you read thousands of things. Can we agree that you read thousands of pages?
Yes.
All right, can we move on? And I'm asking you with regard to the date. Isn't it true that in this particular email or in instant message, there's a reference, a time reference, isn't there?
Objection, foundation.
Approach.
Ma'am, I'm going to mark an exhibit, and it has a highlighted portion of it.
And I probably need to get my glasses.
Please, while I'm doing this. Take a look at exhibit 599 and the highlighted portion as to the date and the time.
By far the highlight.
Just the highlighted portion.
All right.
If I may have it back. Does that refresh your recollection as to the conversation involving Ms. Housley and Mr. Alexander, where she was vulnerable?
No, it does not. There were numerous about that same time. There were numerous conversations. So without looking directly at it, I would not be able to say this particular conversation happened on the 19th of May. No, I would not.
Well, you indicated to us, at least when you talked about their relationship, was that in terms of Ms. Housley, one of the things that you told us about her was that she was vulnerable, right?
She was anorexic.
You used the term vulnerable, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And you also are now telling us what she said was that she was anorexic, right?
Objection, Judge, no reapproach. Yes, reapproach.
So you're telling us that in this message that you reviewed, one of the things that Ms. Housley said was that she was anorexic, correct?
I'm not saying on the 19th that she was saying that because I don't know what's in that communication, Mr.
With
Martinez.
regard to Ms. Housley, you just told us that she said that she was anorexic, right?
That she had been anorexic.
Right, that's what you just told us, right?
Yes,
This is part of the information that you used in telling us that she was vulnerable, right?
yes.
Additionally, as part of that, you also indicated to us that there was some issue about photographs, where Mr. Alexander was asking for photographs, right?
Yes,
He wasn't asking for nudes, was he?
he was asking for close to naked, I believe.
He was asking for what?
There was something about, he was asking for a bikini shot.
Right, he wasn't asking for nudes, was he? That was my question.
With one, he was asking close to naked, and I don't remember if that was Reagan Housley or not.
So you can't, as you sit here, when you say that he was asking for photographs, you can't tell us either way whether or not they were nudes or not, right?
They were definitely bikini.
So you're saying that they were bikini shots then?
Yes,
And that's based on what you read, right?
yes,
And with regard to that conversation, one of the things that came up was that the defendant was Mr. Alexander Stalker, right?
yes.
And with regard to that conversation, the events involving the stalking were discussed, yes or no?
Yes, there were a couple of
Yes or
events.
no? Yes or no? They were
Yes.
discussed, weren't they?
Yes,
Previously, when you were asked by Ms. Wilmot about that, you said, I see no evidence whatsoever about stalking. Do you remember saying that?
I still don't.
I understand. So you still don't see that even though they are referenced in that message, right?
I don't see that based on Mr. Travis's behavior toward Ms. Arias. Stalking is a different ballgame, and it's a pattern of behavior, and it's a pattern that usually creates fear in the person that's being stalked. And so I don't see that with Mr. Alexander as he continues to connect with Ms. Arias.
Isn't it true that when you just said fear, isn't it true that Mr. Alexander was extremely fearful of the defendant based on what was said in that conversation?
I don't get that based on what I'm looking at. Once again, Mr. Martinez, you're asking me to look at something that's isolated as opposed to looking at the context of what we're talking about.
You had no problem telling us, for example, that Ms. Housley was anorexic, right?
Well, she said that.
Right. So you believed her, right?
I believed her because she talked about lots of body image
Right.
issues. Yeah.
Right. But you still believed what was being said. You never actually got a photograph of her, did you?
No, I did not.
You never saw any medical records involving her, right?
No, I did not.
You're basing it just on what was said in that message, right?
I'm not sure if it's
A lot
just one
faster.
message, but
But
it was
definitely-
based on the communication between
Right.
Mr.
And in terms of the
Sure.
photographs in the bikini, when you said that Mr. Alexander wanted those photographs, his wanting is based on a statement that was made in those messages, right?
Correct.
And so you're believing what Mr. Alexander is saying with regard to his carnal desire.
Based on much information, Mr. Martinez, not based on one communication with one woman.
But you are believing it, aren't you?
I
Yes.
am believing it.
Right. So you're taking what's in this instant message and you're believing, picking and choosing what to believe and what not to believe, right?
No.
Well, in this instant message, isn't it true that without telling me what is said, isn't it true that Mr. Alexander talks and uses the word stalking as it applies to the defendant?
Yes.
Isn't it true that he talks about certain aspects of that stalking behavior, right?
Yes.
In fact, in that instant message, there's even an indication from both parties that they believe the defendant is listening in or seeing what's going on, right?
No, there's there's an inference by Mr. Alexander toward Ms. Housley that she is listening in.
And in fact, isn't a message typed in as part of this conversation that's directed towards the defendant?
Yes,
So it's with the indication, at least, that they believe that she's listening in or monitoring that conversation, right?
Objection is characterized as her testimony.
Overruled. Let me answer.
Right?
I don't believe that. I believe, do you want to know what I believe, or do you want me to?
No, I'm asking about what is going on there. Whether or not you believe it or not, we'll get to in a minute. Isn't it true that there is a written communication during the time that the two are involved in this instant messaging conversation of a message directed towards the defendant? Yes or no? Without telling us what it is.
Mr. Alexander is saying that to Ms. Housley. That's correct.
But isn't Ms. Housley, as a result of what Mr. Alexander says, also type something to the defendant? Doesn't she do that also?
He asks her to, yes.
Yes or no? She does type it though, right?
He asks her to and she complies,
Right.
yes.
And he also types something there, right?
I'm not sure I'm not sure about that.
And as part of that same conversation that we're talking about, this is the one that you use in part to talk about the fact that he was flirtatious, right? In that conversation, right?
Once again, I would need to be refreshed if you would have me look. You're asking me about the same date, Mr. Martinez, and when you look at thousands of documents, a date is not going to stand out, and you've got that information. You've got it.
Let me mark it for you. It does have the date on top. Disregard it. It's my writing. Well, take a look at it. Take a look at it. Exhibit 600. And the issue is whether or not there's any indication in that instant messaging about whether or not Mr. Alexander is being flirtatious.
Do you want me to read all 18 pages?
I want you to read it so that you familiarize yourself with it to the point that you can answer my question as to whether or not Mr. Alexander and this woman were being flirtatious with each other. Have you reviewed it?
Yes,
May I have it back?
sure.
Are there any indications there of the flirtatious aspect of their relationship?
Yes,
So that's included in there in terms of the issue of vulnerability as well as the photographs. And you've chosen to believe those because that's what you presented to us last Thursday, right?
based on context, Mr. Martinez.
Judge,
based
it's a
on-
yes or no question.
Next question.
We understand that it's context-based, but you have chosen to believe that in this conversation, you have chosen to believe that they are being flirtatious with each other, right?
They're talking about boobs and libido
Ma'am,
and sex.
Judge,
and-
she's just not responding.
Sustained. Listen
Ma'am.
carefully to the question.
Yes,
You've chosen to believe that. You've also chosen to believe that she's anorexic, right?
she states that.
And you've also chosen to believe this thing about the photographs. Well, when you say that she states that, you've chosen to believe it, right? You told us about it just now, right?
There's quite a discussion about it in the email.
So is it yes, you did believe it?
Yes, I did believe it.
And so you've also.
Recovering
Oh my
anorexia.
God.
And you've
Who
also
the
chosen
hell
to believe
cares?
this issue involving the photographs, right? That he asked for a photograph, correct?
Yes,
And it's a bikini photograph, right? You now know that, right?
I didn't see
We'll
that.
move
It
on.
was,
We'll move
okay,
on.
okay.
And yet, when we come to the issue of the stalking, you have chosen not to believe Mr. Alexander when he says that because of the defendant's stalking behavior, he is extremely afraid of her. You've chosen not to believe that.
Based on his behavior toward Miss Arias.
Sure. But you've chosen not to believe it, even though he's written it down.
He's written that he is afraid and he's,
Judge, you indicated that she shouldn't say what's in there, but
Can you answer the question without referring to what is written on the page?
what is, okay. Will you restate the question,
Sure.
Mr. Martinez?
you've chosen not to believe Mr. Alexander in this conversation, which may or may not be towards the middle or the end of May. You've chosen to believe. You've chosen not to believe Mr. Alexander that he was extremely afraid of the defendant because of her stalking behavior.
That's not the only reason I chose to believe it.
But
Not, or to disbelieve it.
you chose not to disbelieve him, right?
Objection, double negative, question.
And rephrase.
Another
You chose not to
court
believe him.
inspired objection.
I guess you would say that I did choose
No.
not to believe it.
What I say doesn't matter. You chose not to believe him, correct?
Once again, because of other information, not simply because of this.
So the answer is yes. Is it?
Yes, with a qualifier.
And we were talking.
Good night. So before we get to the next little piece in between with Jodi, you know, there I don't know how to explain how the closing of this show happened. Pantoufle had something to do with one of the phrases. But I was never really into Pink Floyd, really. Nothing against them, just didn't get into them. So I never heard the song, but I have no idea where Shine On You Crazy Diamonds came from. Just, I have no conscious thought of it. Anyways, it doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is I wanted to put together some stuff that you guys for Night Court. And Polly Prissy Pants has been awesome to upload it to the merch store, and it's been updated. But we've now got this is the image, and it's on various things. Can I make it bigger? Can I? Well, that just looks messy. All right. So we've got Shine On You Crazy Diamonds with the 13th juror on the side. So that happens to be a vinyl decal. We've also got round vinyl stickers as well. There's also a phone case. And if you are, we do always talk about, we are now talking about self-care. So if you journal, we also have a hardcover journal as well. I think all of these are super reasonable in terms of price. We always try to lower it as much as possible so that you guys can do it. It's not really about the overhead for us or profit. So these are pretty close to the lowest. So we definitely so they're here. Yay, they're here. So there's that. And so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do kind of some Night Court self-care. And so I have a video that I'm going to play, and I have a script that I'm going to read. And we're going to do a self-care meditation. This comes from the Women's Meditation Network. But it's for everybody. Forgive me if I don't do this fantastically because I've never done it before. But just enjoy the imagery and the sound. And yes, So here we go. The intention of today's self-care meditation is to give you a space to practice and commit to loving yourself in the smallest and biggest ways. To help you create boundaries, say the no's, scream the yeses, and do all things that make your soul feel deeply nourished and loved. So let's begin. Let's begin by getting into a comfortable position. You can be sitting, lying down, or even moving in a safe and relaxing way. If you can, close your eyes and take a deep breath in. And on your exhale, allow yourself to sink deeper into your position. Bring your breathing to its normal rhythm as you settle into this self-care meditation. And simply be here with your breath for a bit. Feel your body expand with your breath in and contract with your breath out. Breathe in, breathe out. You are worthy of receiving love from yourself. You are worthy of being your priority. You are worthy of receiving the love and appreciation and care you so easily give to others. are worthy of enjoying this self-care meditation. Breathe that in, allowing yourself to be open to receiving your love. So imagine with me that you're sitting in the middle of a large, open room of a house. The sunshine illuminates the room and warms your skin. A soft, soothing aroma makes you feel calm and safe. It's quiet, and the only noises you hear are the songs of nature coming in from your open windows. Even though the large open room may not resemble your current residence, you know this is your home, where your heart and your body and your soul feel grounded and vibrant. You are safe here. Breathe into this self-care meditation. Here, you can listen. Listen to what your inner voice is telling you. What do you need right now? What would make your body feel good? Your mind feel good? Your soul feel good? Just take a moment to sit with your breath and with the answers that come up for you. Breathe into this. See these answers in your mind and watch yourself as you stand up and move towards the door. You deserve to feel good. You deserve to shine. Open the door and see those things you called to mind, waiting there, ready for you to call them in. Take in a deep breath of gratitude, and one by one, invite each of those things you identified. Each of those things you know will make you feel good. There is no judgment on what you invited in. Remind yourself of what was discovered in this self-care meditation. Maybe you invited in new boundaries you need to put in place to protect your energy. Maybe you invited in the permission to say no. Maybe you invited in something that seems lavish. It's all okay, and you're worthy of it all. So take a deep breath in and see yourself in the middle of this room again, surrounded by all the things you have thought about to show yourself love, to care for the phenomenal person that you are. You are worthy of this self-care. See yourself look into a mirror on the wall as you place your hands together in front of your heart. See your reflection as you bow your head to your hands and let yourself say aloud, "Beautiful." Let the light inside of you recognize that light. Beautiful. I know that's a little different, but maybe if it helped one or two people, th- that's good. I also know that it's not for everybody, and that's okay too. All right. My plan was to go back. My plan was to go back to the Jodi trial. I still want to do that. I think we need to continue pushing on. So we're gonna continue on. Maybe our newfound Zen will help us deal with Juan, or it's gonna be such a such a difference that all we can do is chuckle. And one day I'll pick the right one.
About some of the conversations that you passed judgment on. Specifically, we talked about the one involving Reagan. We talked about the one involving Shatanya Lay. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And in fact, there were other people that you read either instant messages or text messages, and you made some judgments on them. For example, Denise, you made some judgments based on what you read about her, correct?
Yes.
And specifically, you also indicated with that one that she was vulnerable and that there was some flirtation that was going on between the two of them, right?
I'm not sure that I said she was vulnerable. I said most of the women were vulnerable.
Well, no, I'm asking specifically about Denise. Do you remember saying specifically that she was vulnerable, yes or no?
Even Juan
I
sounds a
don't
little bit
recall
calmer.
that I said that.
You
I may have said that, but I don't recall.
And you testified to that. You spoke about that. Do you remember that you spoke about it on Thursday?
Yes.
You just don't remember what you said.
I don't remember if I said she was vulnerable or that most of the women were vulnerable.
All right. But you may have said that she was vulnerable, right?
I may have said that.
And with regard to somebody named Nicole, again, you talked about being flirtatious and that sort of thing, right?
Yes.
Same thing with Michelle. You indicated that she was vulnerable. Do you remember saying that?
Who?
Michelle.
No.
You don't remember?
There was Chriselle, but not Michelle. There was not a Michelle.
So Chriselle, you do remember that she was vulnerable, right?
Correct.
And basically what you're telling us is that as to all these people, you're able to make these judgments without ever having spoken to a single one of them, right?
I've gone on the context of what they've said repeatedly in their conversations with Mr. Alexander.
So is that you haven't spoken to any of them, correct?
I have not spoken to any of them.
And yet you reached an opinion, correct?
Yes, I did.
And this opinion was based on writings, correct?
Yes, it was.
In fact, that's something like ask the question involving Snow White when you indicated that there was a question as to whether or not she was a woman who was being battered or whatever the term was. Do you remember that we've talked about it?
I'm not sure I'm not understanding what you mean in terms of the
Do you remember
correlation.
Do you remember that you presented on whether or not Snow White was a battered woman? Do you remember that?
I didn't present on whether she was a battered woman. I presented about gender, and Snow White was the character I used.
But your title did indicate that, right?
My title, as I've said numerous times, was a catchy title.
Right. In other words, it was not the truth, is not what you're telling us, right?
I'm telling you that it was a catchy title that embodied the speech I gave, which was about gender and power. And the jury might have to see the entire speech to get the context, Mr. Martinez.
I'm just asking whether or not that was the title, right?
That was the title.
And now you're telling us that this title that you helped craft, right?
Yes, I did.
That this title really was not what you presented on, right?
It was a part of looking at gender and the impact of gender on domestic violence as well, and the impact of what people learn about their gender in regard to domestic violence. So if you take it out of context, you can make it look any way you want to, but if you look at the context, it would make perfect sense to you.
Well, I'm looking at in context. Did you address whether or not in that presentation Snow White was a victim of being a battered woman?
I talked about her gender
Calmed
and
myself
growing up.
down. I think
So you didn't, is what you're telling me.
Once again, you need to look at the context, Mr. Martinez, and you want me to take things out of context, and I think that's an unfair representation, frankly.
Well, you were there, correct? At the presentation?
I was not only there, it was enjoyed by many people.
I'm not asking you whether it was enjoyed by many people, did I? Did I?
No, you did not.
I'm asking you whether or not you were there. You were there, correct?
I presented.
And you picked the title, right?
I picked the title along with the people that who thought it was a great title.
I'm just asking, so what you seem to be indicating is that you don't want to take responsibility for picking the title.
Okay,
Was it-
I'll take
hold on, excuse me.
responsibility. I will happily
Excuse me.
take responsibility.
Excuse me. Did you pick the title? Yes or no?
I picked it, yes.
And you were there, you picked the title, you presented. My question to you is, in that presentation, did you make a decision or did you reach a conclusion or did you even address whether or not Snow White was a battered woman? Yes or no?
I addressed the issue of people growing up being trained like Snow White, that they could go into abusive relationships and why we would expect them to be one way or the other. But once again, it's the context, Mr. Martinez, and you want me to say something that really doesn't characterize what I
Being
did.
non-responsive.
Sustained. Listen
So, ma'am,
to the question, don't volunteer information.
All right.
so, and you made that presentation, or you were there at that presentation, and you were the person that was presenting, even though you never spoke to anybody involved in the Snow White tale, correct?
Objection, relevant, speculation, foundation.
Overruled, you may answer. I didn't speak to the Seven Dwarfs or Snow White. I'm not sure who.
Yes, that's the question. Did you speak to anybody involved with this fantastical tale?
I think that answer would be quite obvious, that I couldn't speak to Snow White, nor could I speak to the Seven Dwarfs.
So would that be no then?
Okay, that would be no.
And just like the people here, Denise, Nicole, Lisa, Deanna, Michelle, Reagan, Shatanya, and Maria, I'm sorry, Chriselle, Reagan, Shatanya, and Maria, you didn't speak to them either, right?
No, I did not.
And it's the same sort of analysis that you applied to Snow White as you did to the writings of these individuals, right?
No.
Well, you used your brain in terms of, and although it may seem obvious, you didn't use the exhibit number 558, right?
I said I used that in part.
So you did use that in part in your presentation
I said that, yes.
involving Snow White then, right?
Oh, no, not involving Snow White. That was not part of the presentation, Snow White.
And involving Denise, Nicole, Lisa, and all the other women, you didn't use this exhibit 558 either, did you?
I used the framework.
And again, the framework comes from your mind, right?
Actually, it comes from reading other people who opine on the subject, who have lots of experience, and my own 35 years, almost 35 years of experience.
Didn't you tell us that when you were making an assessment in this case, that it actually came from your brain, that you actually didn't have to consult this exhibit 558 in making the assessment in this case?
It came from my trained brain.
It came from your thought process, right?
Came from my trained brain.
Right. You thought about it, right?
I thought about it and used other materials
Right.
to.
But one of the materials that you didn't use was this exhibit 558, right?
Objection is characterized as testimony.
Overruled, you may answer.
I'm confused about what
All right,
you're asking
then.
me.
In your assessment in this case, you just told us that you used your trained brain, right?
Yes,
That trained brain incorporated 558, right?
correct.
What you're telling us is that you didn't look at it specifically, right? You just thought about it, right?
I probably looked at it too, but I mean, I've looked at it over time, so I'm not sure. It's in my head. When I discussed it with the jury, I discussed it from my head, not from the paper
Elaine,
in
I feel like that
particular.
needs to be
But of course, you did use the paper when you were discussing it though, right?
I rarely looked at it because I know it.
So the answer is yes, you did use the paper.
I used the paper.
And ma'am, one of the things that, when we're talking about this,
Objection, Judge. Part of the last part of our answer was overspoken. We didn't get the rest of it.
Yes, you may complete your answer if you did not.
That I had it up there, but that I know it well enough that I can discuss it without having to continually refer to it.
it's the same thing though, whether or not you have it up there on the screen or have it in your brain, it's the same thing. It's the same guide, correct?
Yes,
And with regard to this guide that you have in your brain, for example, this is, in assessing these cases, you do have this continuum and you have your experiences, right? When you're assessing a case, right?
I have the total context of what I'm looking at, yes.
I'm not asking that. What I'm asking is what you bring to the table, not what the table has there to provide you.
All right,
In other words, you bring your education, right?
yes,
You bring this continuum, which is in your head, right?
yes,
And you bring your experience, right?
with both victims and perpetrators, right?
So the answer is yes, you do bring your experience, correct?
Yes,
And even though you bring all of that to the table, there is no standard that we can point to, for example, up on the screen or on a piece of paper that we can say, this expert found, based on this particular standard, found something. Your standard is not written anywhere, correct?
untrue. My standard is published and it's being used by attorneys, it's being used by 730 evaluators, it's being used, it's published in Canada because they thought it was useful. It's published in 2 books by 2 different authors.
So is this part of your standard, Exhibit 558?
That's what I'm talking about, yes. That's been used by other
That's
people.
your standard though, right? Is this your standard, 558, that you go by?
I don't go by one standard. This is one tool that I
Right.
use, but I'm not sure what you mean as a standard, Mr. Martinez.
Your approach to these cases is subjective, isn't it? It's what you believe.
I try to make it as objective as I can by using evidence, Mr. Martinez.
I understand that you try, but it's still a subjective sort of approach, isn't it?
Probably not any more subjective than any investigation with a police officer or anybody else. You take the evidence that you have and you weigh that evidence based on a lot of things. And so I don't think there's anybody who has a purely objective view. And so I would say that if you're a police officer, you bring that to the table. If you're an attorney, you bring that to the table, your view to the table. And so, yes, in that way, I'm bringing my view to the table.
So you're saying that your approach is the same as DNA evidence, now that you're talking about police. Same certainty applies to your opinion as it does to DNA evidence.
No, I'm not saying that.
It doesn't, does it? Because that has a standard, an objective standard that people can go out and retest if they wanted to, right?
There's decomposition in DNA standards.
Are you an expert in DNA, Nick?
No, but I've read.
Right, but you're not an expert, right?
No, I'm not.
So in terms of a sample that's not biodegraded, and you have all of the loci that match, if we're going to talk about that, and those, you get a profile, correct?
Wait, me or DNA?
Objection, Judge. She just said she's not an expert in DNA.
Overruled.
In a DNA test, you get a profile, don't you?
I don't know.
So then why, if you don't know about this test, do you want to now tell us about a biodegradable substance?
I'm only saying what I've heard in trials.
Right, but you are not, in a sense, telling us that,
And there is a profile, there is I don't know enough to be an expert, but I know enough to know something, and probably people who watch CSI know enough to say something.
the issue that I'm presenting, or the question that I'm presenting to you is, isn't it true that your approach does not have the certainty that would allow an independent individual, somebody else, to go back and start the investigation again and reach the same results that you would, right?
I don't know.
Well, is it like a DNA test, your approach?
No, it isn't.
Is it like a blood test, your approach?
No, it isn't.
And your approach, is it even a little lower than that? You are familiar with what psychologists do, right?
Are you talking about testing?
No, I'm just familiar. Are you familiar with what they do? What kind of work they do?
Psychologists?
Yes.
Well, specifically, and what are you referring to?
I'm referring to the field of forensics. You're here as a forensics expert, aren't you?
I'm here as a domestic violence expert.
Well, but forensic means that you present it in court. You understand that, right?
I know that, but
Right.
there are a lot of psychologists who don't present in court.
I understand that, but I'm asking you if you're familiar generally with the job that a psychologist does.
Objection, vague foundation.
Approach.
You may continue.
Are you familiar with what psychologists do in the forensic field?
Much of what they do involves testing.
So you are familiar with what they do, correct?
I think the difference between what they do and what I do is testing primarily.
And what you do basically, ma'am, is you sit and you talk to people, right? Because you don't test, correct?
Correct.
And you read things, correct?
I do.
And in fact, one could say that you are a counselor, correct?
I'm a psychotherapist, yes.
But basically what we're really talking about when we break it down is that you're a counselor, right?
I'm a psychotherapist by profession, Mr. Martinez.
And you don't do any testing, right?
No, I don't.
So that we could go out and take a look at your raw data or whatever answers were provided so that somebody else could examine them, right?
Correct.
All we have to rely on with you is what you tell us is your interpretation of what you've read and what you've heard, correct?
That would be true. And in addition to that, I would just say that testing is somewhat subjective too. And it is, when you look at testing, the caveat with testing is this should not be used to stand alone. This should be used in conjunction with the things that you're talking about that I do, if it's used.
But you don't do any testing, do you?
No, I don't.
You're not an expert in testing, are you?
No.
So what you just told us now, in a sense, is you haven't had the schooling that would allow you to make the statements as it applies to these tests, right?
I work with people who do the tests, and we work in conjunction, and so we go over testing together. But do I do testing? No, I don't do testing.
And that's left for others that have a higher degree than you, correct?
Sure.
And when you are evaluating a case, but what you do is basically, as we said before, you sit down and you hear what people have to say, and you look at what they've written, and in a sense, you have to make a call as to whether or not you are going to believe the written word or believe the spoken word, correct?
No, that's not true.
Well,
I can believe both or not believe both. I turn down cases where I find.
Judge, non-responsive. Ma'am, I'm asking you in terms of your analysis, isn't it true that to further your analysis, you're acting as a gatekeeper in the sense that you choose to believe something or you choose to disbelieve something depending on what you think?
Her answer.
No, depending on the evidence, Mr. Martinez.
I agree that you have items in front of you, but you would agree with me that others may see something differently than you, correct?
That's possible, sure.
So that, for example, if you choose to believe somebody, somebody else may choose to disbelieve them, right?
If I choose to believe somebody, that somebody else could disbelieve it. Yes,
Correct.
that's possible.
So that's the type of approach that you used in this case, right?
What a night. Oh, I'm gonna have to do some real soul searching to see if we want to finish this or go to the jury questions, because I feel like those will make more sense. Why do I feel like we're not gonna get anywhere for the next, like, I don't know, 5 hours of this thing? Utterly insane. Just wild. What a week. Well, everybody, I in the words of our friends, yeah. You mean redirect? Do you mean redirect, Shireen? Everybody's saying jury questions. I can find the jury questions for sure. It's just wild to me that that was allowed to continue on. So we'll go to the jury questions on Monday. Thanks everybody. I think it was a good night. In terms of like that self-care segment, it's not always going to be the same thing, obviously. So, we'll do various things. If you have ideas, let me know. If you know, good grief, everybody get out a jar of fingernail polish and we'll paint our nails. Michelle, you asked me how long the trial was. It started like January 4th and it went until early June, I think it was. Just insane and wild. So I think it's a good idea that I think it was Nan who had it. That if we do any of those self-guided meditations, it'll be at the end of the night. We won't do anything else after the night. I think that would be a safe bet, that it's safe to do that, because I definitely made myself tired. I get tired of hearing myself, believe it or not. So, yeah, definitely finish that quiz, turn it in. It's never too late to join. Again, end of the month, points reset. We are going to be keep an eye out on the podcast. The podcast has been doing really good. We're nearing 9,000 downloads already. And we are looking at a whole bunch of ratings and reviews, which are awesome. So, thank you, each and every one of you, for being who you are and for being unabashedly who you are. I love you all for that. And it's wonderful that this community is so positive with you being yourselves. Trying to think if there's anything else, any other updates or anything. I don't think so. You all have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful weekend. I hope that it's rejuvenating and relaxing. I think that's really important. And if you've got a bunch of stuff to do, find the joy in it. That helps things out. So, thank you. I'll say it over and over and over again. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here, for supporting me, Brandi, the channel. Thank you to the mods. Thanks, y'all. You're one of a kind. And by that, I mean each and every single one of you is one of a kind, or the group in total is one group of a kind. Couldn't ask for a better team at all, and it takes a team to do this. So thank you. If you're interested in being a mod, you definitely can apply. If you have questions, if you're not sure about the time, apply anyways, and ask those questions, because maybe it's not that big of a deal and you still can join and be a part when you can be a part. It's totally worth it to at least ask. Never hurts. So much love to you guys. Thank you. And, take care of yourselves. Take care of your family and friends. And don't forget to smile, right? And as Pantoufle said, don't let anybody dull your sparkle. And shine on. Shine on, you crazy diamonds. I'll see you guys on Monday. I look forward to reading those jokes and puns. See you soon, guys.